When the feature list for MLB The Show 20 was announced, one of the first things that fans noticed was that for the first time in the series' history, players can relocate and rebrand teams within franchise mode. Now, the announcement was vague and details were scarce at first, but now we know exactly how it'll all work within this year's game. There's a lot of features, but also some confusion for some on the feature itself. So Sports Gamers Online is here to clear things up with everyone about relocation and team branding in MLB The Show 20.
Sports Gamers Online is the #1 source for the sports gamer.
Team branding customization can happen at two different phases of franchise mode. The first time you can change teams around is at the start of your franchise series. At this time, you can choose to replace any one of the 30 MLB teams. Whether you want to replace 1, 2, or all 30, this is your only chance to truly customize the league and its teams. One thing to note, however, is that there's no expansion or contraction of the league, so you'll have 30 teams no matter what. The other option for players is during the first phase of the offseason. At this point, you'll have the ability to completely customize your team from both a brand and location standpoint. Now, with relocation, rather than how games like Madden, NHL, and NBA 2K handle the ability, MLB The Show 20's relocation option is much more bare bones. You don't go through the process of picking a city, getting approval, or even building a ballpark. Instead, you'll just choose your city from a predetermined list, and that's it. You're relocated. If you want your team to represent, say, Mobile, Alabama, you just select that city from the list. You won't really feel like you're in the city that you chose, but we'll get into more on that later. There's no story, no fan interactions, and there's just not much of anything with it. And based on the information released, it doesn't look like teams will relocate at various times throughout your franchise. Only you can move or customize a team, so all CPU teams will remain exactly where they're at for the duration of your game. Where the feature really stands out is within the actual creation suite itself. The creator is brought over directly from Diamond Dynasty with all of the same bells and whistles, so if you're used to using it there, you'll quickly grasp the various tools and options here too. For team logos, players will be able to fully design their own with the in-game editor, or download one of the hundreds of available community logos from the vault. But sadly, unlike NBA 2K, there's no option to upload logos to a server from a PC or phone and download them to the game. This will certainly leave those without artistic ability or patience waiting for the right logos to come along in the vault for their teams. That said, the options to customize everything from your hats, to your shirts, to your stirrups and more in order to make the best collection of uniforms possible is a great feature to have. It's what makes MLB The Show 20's Team Creation Suite stand out more than any other sports game, and it's just so great that it's finally in a mode other than Diamond Dynasty. Now lastly, because this is the first time the feature is in franchise, it is a pretty skeleton offering in MLB The Show 20. While the customization itself is deep, the relocation aspect of it really isn't. That's especially true when it comes to the game's stadium offerings. When creating or relocating your team, you have to pick from one of the 60 stadiums available in the game. Now, while that sounds like a lot, you have to remember that the 60 stadiums include the 30 MLB ballparks, along with the various classic stadiums, spring training facilities, and minor league ballparks. There's no stadium builder, which we really didn't expect to see this year, so it's not that big a deal, but nor is there a list of generic big league ballparks to pick from. That's where it gets disappointing. It doesn't give off that feeling that you'll be able to make your stadium actually feel like your own ballpark, as there was no mention that your new team branding will carry over to, say, Citi Field if you decide to make the Mets home your new stadium. On top of the stadiums, there's been no mention of realignment if you decide to change a team's location to a different region. That means if you take Oakland and move them to Montreal, the new Expos are likely to still share a division with LA, Seattle, Houston, and Texas. So that covers one of the biggest new features coming to MLB The Show 20, but do you know about all the other things coming? Check out all our videos on the changes coming to this year's game, including the improvements to both hitting and defense in MLB The Show 20. And be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to Sports Gamers Online, and turn on your notifications so you never miss any of our latest videos.